He was not a stranger to Jesus. He was a friend, Lazarus of Bethany, known by name, loved without condition. His home had welcomed the Messiah. His family had served him, listened to him, believed in him. But now, silence had replaced joy. Lazarus was fading. His body, once strong, now frail and burning with fever. And death was drawing near. Mary knelt beside her brother, tears in her eyes. Martha stood at the door, watching the horizon. They had seen him heal the blind, cleanse the leper, raise the broken. Surely he would come. They sent a message, not with panic, but with faith. Not a request, not a command, just a reminder. Lord, the one you love is sick, that was all. Because when love is real, it doesn't need explanation, and they knew he would understand. The message reached him. Carried by breathless messengers across miles of dry terrain, delivered into the hands of the only one who could turn mourning into music. But when Jesus heard it, he did not run, he did not rise, he did not even move. He looked into the eyes of the disciples and spoke words they did not expect. This sickness will not end in death, no, it is for God's glory, that the Son of God may be glorified through it. And then he stayed 2 more days, in the very place he was. Time passed, Lazarus worsened, and still, the Christ did not come. What do you do when heaven waits? When the answer delays? When the one who loves you seems silent? For Mary and Martha, the silence was crushing. But for Jesus, the delay was divine. He was not ignoring their pain, he was orchestrating something greater. Not a healing, but a resurrection. The days grew long, the oil ran low, and then, the moment came. Lazarus exhaled, and did not inhale again. The room was still. Mary collapsed into Martha's arms. The wails began, not of fear, but of finality. He was gone, neighbors gathered, mourners arrived, the body was wrapped, the tomb was sealed. And still, Jesus did not come. The sisters did not curse his name, but their hearts broke under the weight of unanswered hope. They had not asked for a miracle, only for his presence, and he hadn't come. Not to stop the dying, not to hold the living. Grief settled like dust on their skin, and behind the stone, the silence of death reigned. For days later, the road to Bethany stirred. Dust rose beneath the feet of the one who had finally come. When Martha heard that Jesus was near, she didn't wait, she ran. Her voice trembled, but her words were clear. Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. It was not an accusation, it was an ache. The kind that only love can speak. But even in her pain, there was faith. Even now I know, whatever you ask of God, He will give you. Jesus looked into her sorrow and spoke the impossible, your brother will rise again. Martha nodded, trying to believe what her theology knew. I know he will rise, in the resurrection, at the last day. But Jesus wasn't talking about later, he was talking about now. I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? And through her tears, she answered, Yes, Lord. I believe. Martha returned home to call her sister. The teacher is here, she whispered, and he's asking for you. Mary rose quickly, those around her followed, thinking she was going to the tomb to weep. And in a way, she was. She fell at his feet, the same place she had once sat to listen, but now her words matched her sister's sorrow. Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. She wept, those with her wept, and then, so did he. Jesus wept. The Word made flesh, the light of the world, the resurrection and the life, wept. Not because he was powerless, but because he was present. Not because he doubted, but because he loved. The crowd murmured, "See how he loved him." And others asked, if he could open blind eyes, could he not have kept Lazarus from dying? But they did not understand, they were standing at the edge of glory. They came to the tomb, a cave, sealed with a stone. Final, cold, undisturbed for 4 days. Jesus stood before it, and with steady voice, said, "Take away the stone." A gasp rippled through the crowd. Even Martha hesitated. "Lord, by now there will be a stench, he has been dead 4 days." But Jesus turned to her with gentle firmness, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" And so, with trembling hands and held breath, they rolled the stone away. The stench of death met the breeze, and all eyes turned to the Nazarene. He lifted his eyes to heaven. "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the sake of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me." Then came the command, not shouted in panic, but spoken with authority. A voice that echoed through time and tombstones, "Lazarus, come forth." And then, movement. From within the tomb, something stirred, a shuffle, a sound that had no place in a place of death. And there he was. Lazarus, alive, bound in grave clothes, face wrapped, feet stumbling. The dead man came out, the people froze, some gasped, others fell to their knees. But Jesus, calm and commanding, said, "Unbind him, and let him go." Hands rushed forward to unwrap what death had claimed, cloth fell away, life stood tall, and awe spread like fire through the crowd. Not healed, not rescued from the brink, resurrected. News spread like wildfire. A man who had been dead for 4 days now walked the streets of Bethany. Many who saw it believed. Hearts opened, eyes were lifted, hope began to rise from the ashes of loss, but not all rejoiced. Some ran, not to worship, but to warn. They told the Pharisees what had happened, and when they heard it, they did not marvel, they conspired. "If we let him go on like this," they said, "everyone will believe in him, and then the Romans will come and take away our place and our nation." So from that day on, they plotted. Not how to understand the miracle, but how to kill the miracle worker. The resurrection of Lazarus was a sign, and a sentence. Because when Jesus called a man out of the tomb, he sealed his own fate. Lazarus walked again. He sat at the table, he laughed, he lived, but the miracle was never just about him. It was a whisper of a greater resurrection, a shadow of a stone that would be rolled away again, a sign that the one who called Lazarus from the grave would soon conquer his own. Because not long after, Jesus too would lie still in a tomb, but no one would call him forth, he would rise by his own power. Lazarus came out wrapped in linen, Jesus left his folded neatly behind. Lazarus would one day die again, but Jesus would never see death again. The voice that shattered one grave would soon silence death itself. And even now, that voice calls still. Not just to Lazarus, but to all of us, "Come forth."